Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic group of independent comic book creators. So, without further ado, let me bring them in. But real quick, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. Because we're here to bring you guys the best independent comics today. But without further ado, here's our co-host, Mr. Mark. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, this is Mark Torres with the Came From the Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. I am a host of a weekly syndicated radio show, which is actually on the radio on 88.1 FM WARY in Westchester County, as well as on 3 other online radio stations and about 40 podcast places. So if you want to hear us, just type it in and you can find us.
That's a hard-working man right there. What's up, Shaun? How you been?
G'day, guys. If you don't remember me from last week, I'm the guy that disappeared early. My internet dropped out. But my name's Shaun Keenon. I run Comics to Movies, which is a comic and graphic novel publishing company from Australia. We have titles, the Extreme Champion Tournament, Terra Olympus, Talos of Sparta, and a new one called Fractured Shards. Happy to be here, talk indie comics and everything in between.
All right, cool. Nice. What's up, Evan?
JD, how you doing?
My
name is Evan K. Pozios. I'm the writer and co-creator of the Weird War tale Time Grunts, the upcoming horror title Silence, published by Second Sight, and the upcoming Kickstarter title Sister Kate's, which will be part of Kara Prime Presents.
All right, cool. Mr. Bryant, please introduce yourself, sir. What up?
What up, JD? I am Brian Christgau. I am the author of Six Gun Gorilla, Long Days of Vengeance, the critically acclaimed series. I'm also going to have next year a bunch of books coming out since people are actually paying me to write comics now, which is just crazy.
What a concept!
I know. So yeah, next year I got Blood Hunt, Doc Salem crossover coming out, and I'm also working on my first horror comic, which I can't talk about it because it's a secret.
Is it a secret horror comic?
No. I mean, it's like I had to sign an NDA, so.
Oh, murder you.
Yeah. So what's it about? I'm only joking.
He was almost going to answer that.
You almost got him.
Almost
had him, baby.
That close.
How are you doing, Leanne? Please introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. I'm LK Ingino. I'm a speculative fiction and comics writer and poet. And I have my first full-length issue on Kickstarter right now, Fangs and Foul Play. It's a light horror comic, and it is not a secret, so please check it out.
Oh, lucky you.
Other than that, I've worked on a lot of anthology projects, so this is my first full title.
Okay, wait. Speculative fiction. Give us the layman's term. What does that mean?
Oh, sci-fi, fantasy, horror.
Yeah. I mean, I always consider those to be subgenres under fantasy. But if you say fantasy, people just assume that you're talking about high fantasy, sword and sorcery, that sort of thing. But yeah.
All right, cool. What's up, Mr. Lewis? Please introduce yourself.
What's going on, JD? My name is Louis Cruz. I'm the guy that JD always leaves for the end because he has something against handicapped people. And I write comic books and novels.
Wait a second. Hold on. Let's show Lewis how we deal with this.
What's good, JD?
Never mess with the guy that has the boot button.
The views of the show host is not necessarily like those of the management or the staff.
He should know that.
Listen, I'm taking all my directions from Mark. All right, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Mark
is no better at this. I was on his show the last time.
Mark's a professional. What are you talking about? That's why I brought him on. That's why Mr. Rosario's not here. I had to be like, you know what, bro? Go shopping. Now he's out. He's doing stuff. So. All right. So let's start up. So I have a question for you guys. The industry we see over the last 8 or 9 months, we've been seeing it go through a lot of changes. The industry's in flux, and I mean the entire industry, whether it be through independents or even the big two, distribution, everything. It's all in flux right now. So for all of us, it's affecting us and it's not affecting us. So, and there's stuff, there's opportunities for us. So the question is, what are the changes within the industry that excite you and concern you? Right? So let's start off with Mr. Shaun.
Okay, that's a really good question. For me, I think the part that concerns me is I've got a current Kickstarter up at the moment called The 13th Labor. When I launched that, it had 335 plus comic projects on Kickstarter when I launched. Now that is almost a third more than this time last year at the same time of projects. So my concern with everything is Kickstarter's a great platform, but then how, like a store or anything like that, how do you break through and get your project noticed amongst all these other projects? The positives that have come out of it is not just having one distributor now. So you've got several different distributors. You've got a couple of smaller ones that like there's a one called Comic Mainstream that does just certain stores and everything. So there's a lot more options there for us indie creators to actually expand our works further, especially for someone that's international. If you can't tell, I'm from Australia. I talk funny. So yeah, it's like, that gives us a really good opportunity to kind of break into that North American market, and then there's a couple of UK ones that do it as well. So yeah.
Let's say it's okay. I'm from New York. I talk funny too. It's okay. All right. So let's move it over to Evan. What are your thoughts on it?
I think the most exciting thing is that for the first time in history, we're going to see a diamond catalog without Marvel and without DC. So I think there's a huge opportunity there for indie publishers, indie creators, comic book shops. So it's definitely exciting. I think what Shaun said is, there's so much competition out there now. It's relatively easy to get your work, in front of tons of eyeballs, and you really have to work hard to differentiate yourself, work on your craft, find a way to separate yourself from the pack.
All right, cool. Mr. Brian, how are you feeling about it?
Well, first we have to identify what is an indie comic. Does that include Image? Does that include Dark Horse? Or are we talking about folks like ourselves who are, left to self-publish and self-promote?
Well, that's entirely up to you to interpret.
Okay, well, all right. It's a strange time. It's a wonderful time. It's an awful time. I would say that the medium right now isn't really suffering. It's just that American comic books are shite, quite frankly, and that there's a reason why Japan is drinking our milkshake, why manga outsells American comics 10-1. It's not even close. Like the other fellows were saying, we have this massive opportunity now that Marvel and DC have dropped the ball, and they've dropped it in such a major way. It's just, I showed a comic, a contemporary comic to a friend of mine who's a manga guy, and he read it and he thought it was like a satire, right? Because unfortunately, if you buy a mainstream comic these days, you're going to get a political screed. And then I hear people saying, oh, well, comics have always been political. Yeah, but now they're putting the cart before the horse. Now the subtext has become the text, and they've forgotten how to tell a story. I think that our biggest problem as indie creators, of course, is exposure. But we also have to keep our eye on other markets, too. I think we need to start translating our books into other languages. I've already translated the first issue of Six Gun Gorilla Long Days of Vengeance into Spanish. I think, French and Japanese are next. And, thank goodness that the technology has gotten to the point now where we can actually self-publish our own books and they look completely professional. All I know is that all of the indie books that I'm seeing these days, they don't look like indie books.
Right.
And that's a wonderful thing. And yeah, the field is kind of swamped right now. And I think a lot of creators, people like myself that are on like their 4th or 5th campaign, we're not seeing the numbers that we used to see, but I think that's okay. Because there are more people coming in and on their first campaign making 5K, 3K, and enough to get their feet wet and to actually be able to make their books. So the more the merrier, I always say. But yeah, it does present a challenge. Is how do you stand out for the pack? And that's, I think, just by making a great book,
All right.
telling a great story.
Yes, that's the minimum we need to do. Tell an entertaining story, right?
Yes.
LK, how do you feel about it?
I mean, since this is my first campaign, I don't have anything to compare it to. I do think it's an interesting time coming in because there are so many projects. I'm not sure that November was the best time to start my first project.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of fun, but I wonder if we would have hit stretch goals. We could still hit stretch goals, but it'd be tight, with the time left. So, but anyone watching, you can help us get to those stretch goals.
Yes.
The paper shortage worries me a little bit with that going on right now.
Yeah.
Which is affecting not just comics, of course, but novels and all sorts of books. So I bought my bags, I bought my boards, I bought my shipping boxes in advance.
Yeah.
So I got those ready.
No, that's a good thing. Yeah, I think as far as the paper shortage, it depends on your run. If you're doing a really big run, it's gonna get tight. But for smaller runs,
DC size run.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, if you're doing a smaller run, you should be okay. But even then, it's still affecting prices at the printers. It's at least 10 to 15%, steeper than it was probably a year and a half ago. So it's always a little rough. Mr. Lewis, how you feeling about it, sir?
I've never done a Kickstarter.
What are you waiting for, bro?
I know a lot of people. You're not the first to tell me that. I've never done a Kickstarter. One thing I did notice, and I've gone to 2 shows where Marvel and DC are not nowhere around, and a lot of indie publishers that wouldn't normally get seen or heard are now being seen and heard in for example, Comic-Con. When I went, half of the stuff that was there I've never heard of. There was no Marvel, no DC, no Image, none of those big 5 were there, but it was still a sold out show. And I think that is a plus sign for indie publishers.
Lewis, I'm sorry.
And that's just my opinion in where this is going. Like, Diamond is not taking that, Diamond is no longer working with them. So I'm assuming, I don't know if it was because of the pandemic or whatever, but when I went to the Comic-Con, there was none of that. And I went to a show yesterday, there was none of that neither. I thought it was cool to see regular indies going at it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm a rude bastard with ADD. You're gonna have to forgive me for that. But when you say Comic-Con, do you mean San Diego Comic-Con?
I
was at the New York.
Oh, the New York Comic-Con. All right.
Yeah, were they at
the
San
Javits
Diego?
Center?
Were they at
Yeah,
San
at the
Diego?
Javits.
Oh.
San Diego didn't happen yet. It's happening Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
But I doubt they're gonna be there.
Yeah.
Mr. Medina says, "What's up, all? What's up, George?"
Sup, Medina?
What up?
Yeah,
George.
You know that guy, George. He's crazy.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to mention something really quick. I posted it up in the show note. Well, the chat is currently on another channel. My good buddies Nita and Meredith. They're running a charity auction for Luke Stone. So if you're here, you can go over there, drop some money on Luke, his family. He was in the hospital.
And then come back.
Yes, and then come back, of course. And then, he was in the hospital for 45 days because also I have a group of people here that also need your help. They also have campaigns running. And I'm pretty sure they all have, like myself and everybody else, we all have starving artists who we need to feed. But Luke definitely needs your help. So please, there's a lot of good stuff. I've put in the Oswald Chronicles. I got a couple sets of books up there, some T-shirts, pins, so go help them out and then come right back. All right. So I just wanted to give them
as I always like to say, if you don't have the money, you can always like and share and spread the word that way.
Exactly. All right, Mr. Mark, you're up.
All right. So I look at it this way. Being in the city, let's figure you have Times Square, and in the old days, you had two people with soapboxes, and those are the only people who had soapboxes to talk about. Now, you go into the city, they give you a free soapbox. So if everybody has a soapbox, then nobody has a soapbox. That's how I see how this is going. So eventually, we're going to get to a point where if everybody has a campaign and Kickstarter and comic book, then no one's going to have one because it's not going to make any difference. And then you can't hear anybody, you can't see anybody. So I think it's going down that way. The same thing that happened with television. Look where we are now. Everybody's trying to get streaming service because they're all looking for stuff to watch. But on the other side, the big people, the people who still have the money, are looking for content. And that's the way to get in with the indie guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Well, I look at it like this. If you think about it, though, it's not the people. If everybody has one soapbox, we're all pretty much even, all right, unless you're really tall. But it's those people with 2 and 3 soapboxes and they stack them, and you get on top of them, right?
Yeah.
It's always signal to noise, right? It's those people with the bigger channels, with that bigger boost. If you can get that bigger boost, you can push yourself a lot further. But it's getting to that point, where that's why we're all here. That's why we'll do these shows, right? It doesn't matter what show, and it doesn't matter what show you go on. My show, I have less than 300 subscribers, but you might be able to pick up 2 or 3, people who'll back your campaign on this show, right? Whereas you go on to a channel that has 1 million subscribers, you might only pick up 1. Because I have a dedicated audience.
Can I comment really quick on something that Mark said?
Of course.
At the 2016 New York Comic Con, this was my first convention, right? So I was diving in at the deep end,
Wow.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, yeah. The first day was rough and overwhelming, but we ruled Independence Alley.
Nice.
It was we were lucky because we sold out of comics on the second day, right? And I sold like about 400 comics. It was crazy, right? Which was wonderful, and I was obviously not complaining, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that we had a corner table, we had a big FU banner when you came in through the door, you saw that, and also every single other comic, because I got to keep it real. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we ruled Independence Alley that year was because we had the only comic that wasn't about zombies that year.
Where were you?
Yeah.
Where in the Javits? Where, if you remember?
It was okay. The problem with the Javits Center is that it's designed for one medium-sized convention and one small convention, and it's the sections are way far apart.
Right.
And people are packed in like sardines, so it's going to take you 3 hours to get from like one side to the other side. I was on the side.
Not if you have a wheelchair.
Oh, and a cattle prod, I would imagine. But yeah, it was in the larger.
Were you near the Funko guys by the Rooster Teeth on the left-hand side? If you're facing it, you're on the right-hand side.
It was on the right-hand side, and also close enough to the Bandai booth where.
Bandai booth, okay.
Yeah, man, and my pass got me to the front of the line. I felt like a big D-bag. I was apologizing to all the people. Like, I'm sorry, I gotta cut the line. I'm getting a present for like a friend's son. It's my excuse.
I do that without the badge. It's so cool.
Why not, man?
The reason I asked is because I usually go up and down all the aisles in the Javits and take pictures of all the booths, so probably have walked by you and took your picture.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. It's possible. Nowadays, of course, I feel like people like me are being priced out. Tables are much more expensive than they used to be. Now, of course, with the Rona and everything, conventions came back a little bit this year, but not in a major way. Hopefully next season, things will be back to normal. And if anything, I think that the lockdown has given us all an opportunity to get our work out there, but also to make connections with fellow creators. and make friends and meet new collaborators.
Mm-hmm. This is true. This is true. All right, I'm going to go ahead and answer my own question. The thing that has me the most excited is the possibility of NFTs working out in a way that would benefit independent creators. And let me just say, the reason I say that is because with my series, the Oswald Chronicles, I literally have thousands of strips. And if I put them up there and I sell them, I don't even care, $5-10. If I can sell 1,000 of those things, so be it. You understand? And, you know, that's a different market than ours. Because once people start treating that stuff as just a commodity they can trade, whatever it's insane, because whatever the content in is, they're not going to care. They're just going to just start trading them back and forth.
Yes.
You know, and that's all they're going to care about. They're going to just care about that monetary section. Now, as a creator, I'm like, well, that's horrible. But as a person who has to feed artists, I'm like, okay, do whatever you got to do and give me my cut. Because that's the other thing. On the back end, I get 10% of whatever is sold in the future. So, you know, you can just, you know, and like I said, I got artists to feed. So, you know, if it works out, even if I just make a couple grand, it doesn't matter. Just more money I can feed out to my artists. So it's all good for me. So that's something that has me excited. The thing that has me concerned is the thing that always has me concerned is distribution is screwed up in this country and it needs to be fixed. And, you know, applying a hammer at either a diamond or anything else is just not going to work. It has to be finessed, and I don't see anyone who's able to finesse it in the right way, at least not yet, but hopefully that'll happen. So, you know, we'll see. So, Mr. Mark, you're up.
All right, so this one is something that I just found out. You guys may know about this, but I just heard that John Byrne, we all know who John Byrne is in Marvel Comics and DC. He has been on his own website, been doing a free X-Men comic for 28 months. Writing, penciling, inking, and lettering. An X-Men story, which he calls X-Men Elsewhere. Now, because he has worked on those characters, where does the line draw at IP and copyright infringement? Like, does this? Where does this go? Because if it's something that's just a fan that makes something, it's different than if it's someone who actually worked on it and did it. So let's say if Stan Lee had decided to write his own Hulk comic on the internet, give it away for free because that's where the money is. If you're not making money, they can't do anything. Because it reminds me of there was a Star Trek fan film that got all the actors and all the writers and all the special effects guys to make the movie, and apparently it was really good. Yeah. And apparently he started selling like merchandise, and that's when Paramount was like, "Wait a minute!" And it made more money than the actual movies that they were putting out. So where's the line drawn where it comes to fan creations?
Wow. Well, let's start. Well, hold on. Let's start with Evan, because he's next up in line. But also the reason I really like it, we start to Evan. He's a lawyer. So.
Oh, that's convenient.
Oh, that's the lawyers right now. That's Marvel and DC calling.
Exactly. Cease and desist.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I'm not an IP attorney, but off the bat, I would probably ask John Byrne, you know, what his contract status is. Does he have some sort of clause that allows him to do this? I highly doubt it, unless perhaps he was the co-creator of one of the characters. There might be a loophole there. It's funny because I'm actually in a situation now where I own a character that's in someone else's universe, but I have the right to take that character and shop it wherever I want to. And then I have another situation where I'm going to be writing my first ongoing series, and I specifically have no rights in that character, the main character, but any character that I co-create, I retain rights in the future should it, you know, turn into some form of multimedia. So it's going to definitely be an interesting area. And you know, even though I'm an attorney, I sort of, I'm from the Midwest. I kind of go by the, handshake and a smile. And I found that, going forward, that's not the way to go. You really need to get everything in black and white and, have everything clear up front before you go forward and creating something and having issues down the line.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Brian, how you feeling about it?
About IPs. You know, it's interesting because just the other day I was watching a movie with Robert Bronski. Do you guys know who, guys and lady? Do you know who Robert Bronski is? He's
That's
also known as Deepfake Charles Bronson.
That guy. Yes, that guy.
Yes. And so he's a Hungarian chap who just happens to look exactly like Charles Bronson. I mean, it's uncanny. Do a quick Google search and you're going to be like, damn, right? So people are making Charles Bronson movies now with this guy. But they're not, and they're real. I gotta say, they're like the ones that I've seen. Death Kiss, I thought was really entertaining. Like all the bullet squibs are like 10 times the size of a regular bullet squib. Like when you shoot somebody, it's like I don't know, like a gasoline tanker of blood just goes boom, right?
Mm.
But that brings up a very interesting question because they're using his likeness, and yet at the same time, it's this guy's own face, right? So that's in a very nebulous territory, and people are wondering, with computer technology, of course there was a deepfake Peter Cushing in one of the Star Wars movies, I think Rogue One.
Yep.
Which I haven't seen, but these bring up these are interesting questions. I just don't know that I have the answer. I just hope that we get to see more deepfake Charles Bronson movies in the future.
Well, I think as long as they don't label him Charles Bronson, it's okay. If they label him his own name, I think it should be fine.
Exactly. I think, but it does bring up a question. I mean, if it were me, if I were Charles Bronson, I'd find that shit hilarious. But I don't know if Charles Bronson would approve.
I saw the cover box of that movie, and I thought it was an old movie that I never heard of.
Yeah.
I was like, he made this movie and I never heard of it. And then I did my research, like, oh my God, it's a brand new movie with some dude that looks like Charles Bronson.
Exactly like Charles Bronson. But yeah, it's one of those
funny.
things. I think it's like there's the question. I don't know that I don't have an answer.
Right. No, I got you. Because it's interesting because how they market those movies is going to be really weird. And is Charles Bronson still with us? I don't even know.
No, he passed away years ago from Alzheimer's disease.
Right. Okay. So at least we don't have to battle that one, right?
Be the family.
If he sees it, he won't remember if that's him or not.
Right, but what about his estate?
That's
right?
so wrong.
True. LK, how do you feel about it?
It's hard to think of if somebody was, using my character, how they were using it, how would I respond? Because it hasn't happened. And
well,
so
let's put it this way.
theoretical.
So let's say you have your campaign, it comes out, and you're not the artist, right? Let's say you're not the artist
Right.
first,
No,
right?
I'm not. I'm the writer.
Okay. So the artist decides to make their own stories using those characters that you drew for free and put it online. Put it in that perspective. What do you think about it?
Technically wouldn't be against the contract, I don't think. For free. For paid it would be, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's somebody was saying once, once you put something out there, it's really it belongs to the fans, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that desire to want to make fan art and fan stories. And I've written fan fiction on fan fiction sites. I've never tried to sell anything, of course. And I wouldn't try to sell my fan fiction. Not like 50 Shades was, what availed fan fiction for Twilight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit weird. I think I'd feel a little bit weird about it. I feel worse if it was something really against the characters, how they would truly act, so against their personality that I'm this is not them. And it'd be off-brand, because I'd worry about that muddying the brand. On a related topic, there was something in Japan that I don't know what happened with it, but it was around cosplay and rights with cosplayers, potentially having to pay, I think, to cosplay as characters. And I don't know if it's only the cosplayers who get paid versus people who are just going to a convention.
No.
And I'm not really sure what ended up happening with that, if that is now the case there, and if it's now more difficult to cosplay.
That'd be terrible.
I never thought of that before, but that actually, if you think about it, it does make sense that if you're getting paid to dress up as a Spider-Man,
Mhm.
shouldn't Marvel get part of that money?
Mhm.
Don't let them hear this, though.
Yeah, don't give them ideas.
All right,
It's a-
Mr. Lewis, how do you feel about it?
If it's working for him, more power to him. But I saw something similar to that at New York Comic Con. Chris Claremont was selling a comic book, an X-Men comic book that he did, and it had a whole new cover. It was over 20 years old, but he was selling it like it was new, and it wasn't published by Marvel or nothing. But it was using it was I'm sorry, it wasn't X-Men. It was a Wolverine, and I thought it was weird because I'm like, it's not associated with Marvel, but yet he was popping them like nothing, signing them and everything, and yet it was under his own name published.
Really?
And I think this has been going on for a while. Where I mean, even in movies, didn't Alan Moore did a movie where he used all these other characters and put them all in a team? What was it called? The
League of Extraordinary
Gentlemen, yeah.
But
But that
those
was
are public domain characters.
yes, public domain, yes.
And what about that movie I, Frankenstein? Is that public domain too?
Yeah, that's why
Frankenstein.
anybody can make Frankenstein. We can make a Frankenstein movie right now if we
Yes.
wanted to.
Yes,
Yeah.
the number one most adapted novel of all time is Frankenstein. Number two, Dracula.
That's why Disney is fighting tooth and nail for the copyright and trademarks of Disney and the mouse and all that stuff. Because if they lose that, then anybody can make anything they want.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have a character like Conan the Barbarian, for instance, who is public domain overseas, right? There was recently a French adaptation of Red Nails that came out that's supposedly spectacular. They can't release it here in the United States. So then the copyright rules vary from region to region.
And
Well,
Peter
they're
Pan's a little bit
releasing-
iffy, depending on where you're releasing it, I think, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peter
Most
Pan's
of Peter
also.
Pan's okay, but some parts are not.
Yeah, but that
Tarzan.
French. Yeah, the French book, the Conan book, is coming out under the Sumerian, and those books are awesome.
Oh,
those
I
books.
can't wait. I
Yeah.
love French
Those-
comics.
No, they've already released 3 or 4 of them. I mean, you look on DCBS, you can probably find them,
Awesome.
or in stock trades or something like that. I don't know why I plugged them. They should be paying me, bastards. But no, Shaun, your turn. What do you think?
Well, okay. So this is really big because I'm the naughty guy that started off doing fan art. So that's before I got into creating my own comic book series. So I kind of here in Australia, and I don't know what it's like in the US, is you can only get in trouble if you sell what they call a commercial quantity. Here in Australia, that's over 500. So I limited all my prints to 500.
Now, let me ask you a question. Was that $500 or Australian dollars, or
500
was it
units.
500 pieces?
No, 500 items of the single item.
Units. Okay.
So that's how. But I'm moving away from that now. We're redoing our website at the moment. We're becoming just purely a publisher. But that's how I kind of started out. So, I'm that naughty one that has been using other people's IP to kind of raise some funds and everything. But then on the flip side of that, I signed a really, really bad contract. Was not aware of the legal ramifications of a contract that I'd signed, and pretty much had to start one of my series from scratch due to that. So I'm a firm believer from now and from then and moving forward. Like, I always have all my contracts written by an entertainment lawyer. At the moment with the Kickstarters and everything like that, everything that the character or the artist is drawing, because I can't draw myself, all of the IP is transferred to me. So they actually own own nothing. It's just a work for hire contract, and once the job is done, they don't have the right to go and draw it again or anything like that. So that's what I've made sure that I've written into my current contracts. And now moving forward, this is the first time I'm actually going to be working with other people's IP. So I announced about a month ago that we are doing a tie-in graphic novel with the movie franchise called Occupation. If you haven't seen it, it's out on Netflix in the US, came out in the middle of November, but it's called Occupation Rainfall, and it's a sci-fi Australian film franchise. They've got 2 movies out at the moment. And this graphic novel is going to be the third one. So that's been a real interesting process in regards to, working in their IP, but me not owning anything, but making sure that I kind of, get paid for the work that I do and anything that eventuates after that as well. So, I look at it as, it depends on what's written in the contract. So if you're an indie creator, I would always say however much $200, $300, $400 it costs to get a contract done, invest in yourself and invest in your IP in doing that. So that would be the first thing I'd say. And then the second thing on that is make sure that you understand that when you're signing that contract, what rights you are giving the artist or whoever you're working with, type of thing, so that this doesn't eventuate, or if it does eventuate, that you've got a clear understanding that you go and say, hey, our contract says XYZ, can you take that down? Now, the flip side of that is I am one of those people that are always like, well, is there anything other than good press for your series, even if it's I think the one thing that I would agree with is what LK said is I would probably be annoyed if my characters were way out of character and it really did muddle my IP. I would prefer like if someone did like a satire or something like that of my characters, so they know that it's not the same. That they're just taking it off or something. But yeah, that's the one part that I would kind of be a little bit annoyed with. So, but I've got not a leg to stand on because I've done the fan art stuff. So after all of that, yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, for myself, as far as like the John Byrne situation goes, because I think what it is since he's not charging for it, it's okay. I know he went into talks with Marvel to try to get them to produce it. I know they approached him.
They said no.
Right, and they said no, and shame on them for it. You understand? Because obviously this is an issue. Like I think Tom Brevoort has issues with John Byrne. Like they just don't like each other or whatever.
Everybody has issues with John Byrne. He's not a very well-liked fellow.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you my John Byrne story then.
Oh, here we go.
I got a John Byrne story. All right.
Okay.
So Pittsburgh Comic-Con, many, many moons ago, we drove in from New York, 8-hour drive. Okay. So we drive in. John Byrne's there. I'm there with my driver, who's an artist. He's a huge John Byrne fan. And I was there with one of my illustrators, Matt Lunsford. Look at it. I'm going to show you his book right there. That's one of that's his art, right? So he had just finished the second issue, and we had just put it out. It was Dreamweaver's issue 2. And they noticed, they say, hey, John Byrne is over there. And they were like, okay. So him and my friend Donnie, they both go over to John Byrne. And they're like, Matt brings him a copy. They wait online patiently, and they go to him. And they say, Mr. Byrne, here's, I just finished this book. I want you to have it. And John Byrne sat there, and he said he patiently opened it up, went through it, discussed it with him. He said he really, really liked it. He said he loved it. And he said, John Byrne said, thank you. He said, oh, could you sign it for me? And my friend signed it for him and gave it to him. And then John Byrne says, do you guys have anything for me to sign? And they apologized. Says, I'm sorry, Mr. Byrne. We just came in from New York. We didn't know you were here. I mean, we got tons of stuff back home. But John was like, don't worry about it. He reaches underneath his table. He pulls out a case of books. Pulls out 2 copies. It's the first issue of his straight run through the Fantastic Four. So it's the one where the Fantastic Four is upside down. And, I think it's Diablo's the character that has them. Yeah. So he takes out 2 copies, signs it for them, because he said the retailer brought him a whole case. He signed it for them. handed them their books, thanked them, and I've never seen two men float quite as high as these two gentlemen. They came back to life. They were floating. All right.
Well, that's the thing. If you're somebody like John Byrne, and I am a fan of him as an artist, without a doubt. I mean, his X-Men run, I mean, you can't touch that whatsoever.
Not at all.
You have the ability to make people happy with very minimum effort, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have an opportunity now is we have a one-on-one relationship with our readers, right? They have immediate access to us. We're the ones that are shipping them the books. If somebody gets a book and it's damaged, and they let me know about it, I will make it right.
Oh yeah.
As for somebody, for someone like John Byrne doing something wonderful like that, that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of bad stories about John. And early on, someone had told me, said John Byrne comes in two forms. He's either hot or cold. So,
so it depends on what day you catch him.
Right. It depends what day you catch him on. There's gonna be a day you catch him and he's good, and there's a day he's gonna be like, So it's just like, all right, whatever. Maybe he's bipolar. Who knows? He needs some pills. Who knows?
Nice.
All right. So I got one more. I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we're gonna actually move on to popping everybody's campaigns. So I'm gonna pull everybody's campaigns up, and then we're just gonna do that thing because I know I think everybody here has a campaign
except for me.
Well, you're the co-host, bro. You're not included, right?
Me neither.
Louis, you have a campaign?
No, sir.
Are you working on something?
I'm working on something, but it's not comic book related.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're gonna pull that up. Lewis is a writer, okay?
He's getting his soapbox.
Yeah, they're damn writers, and he writes in prose too. Ah, filthy. Now. So, all right. So, here's a question: how long is too long for a series to run? Right. So, now as independent creators, right? Let's say Dave Stevens. Dave Sim. 300 issues on Cerebus. Long time, right? Long time.
Bone.
Right. A bone,
Yep.
right? Yep. Long time, right? Good size series. Mark Millar, 6 issues, done. Right? So, right? So what's your preference as a fan and as a creator? All right. So, Mr. Brian,
I think it depends on the characters. I think it depends on the IPs, as people would refer to them nowadays, rather clinically. I think it's the same way that streaming channels aren't looking for art; they're looking for content. I don't think you could ever have too many issues of Thor. I don't think you could ever have too many issues of Batman or Superman. I don't think you could have too many Tarzan stories. I don't think you could have too many Conan stories. I don't think you could have too many Zorro stories, and so on and so forth. I think that there are certain characters that are so iconic that they need to be reinterpreted for each successive generation. Now, if you're talking about just a regular story, it depends on the story. Right? I think, for instance, this first arc I'm doing on Six Gun, it's 10 issues, right?
Gotcha.
After that, I want to do other stuff because I'm kind of sick of being thought of as the gorilla guy. But I could write Six Gun gorilla stories for like the next 20 years. I've got I've got it all mapped out up here. So it depends. I would say it varies, but clearly you don't need 500,000 Deadpool stories. You don't need 500,000 Spider-Gwens. Do you know what I'm saying?
There are people out there that would flip that on you on a dime.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's good. And that's cool. That's cool because we all have different tastes. Sherlock Holmes, that's another character that we keep seeing reinterpreted. Like the great Jungian archetypes, I think. You can never have too many.
All right. Cool. Okay, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it depends. I'm a Batman fan. I'm not up to date, but I love Batman. So I won't get tired of seeing Batman stay around.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. Well, there kind of is new Sailor Moon in a way, but still the same. It's just it's not actually a new storyline. I do like it when something ends though, and I think that as long as it I never finished Bleach. I haven't watched much new anime lately, but yeah, I could not. That was way too long. So I think it's good when you have something self-contained, but if you can play in the world with new characters, that's fun. So if I'm thinking a graphic novel length, 4 to 6 issues feels like a pretty good amount to go into a graphic novel. Beyond that gets a little bit unwieldy. Fangs and Foul Play is, I have it projected to be 4 graphic novels, so it's about 12 to 18 total issues, I think, that are going to be collected into 4 books if all goes well.
Cool.
It's such a self-contained story that it has to end. It might be able to get a prequel though. I might be able to add one in that's a before, what came, before all this. The other title I'm working on has a more expansive world though. I think that readers might get tired of the character if we keep coming back to her, and she has to have some sort of completion arc. But I could go back into that world and pull other characters out, put other characters in, play in other areas of it, and that would be really fun to be able to continue in that same vein.
All right, cool. Mr. Lewis, how do you feel about it?
I always wanted to do 4 issues, 6, but 5 just to be the oddball, because you got to count 0. 0 is a number. But I think I thought that you do the first 4 issues, and if it catches on, then you do another, you expand it, or you come out with another 4 to 6 issue series. And if that works, then you keep growing the numbers. But apparently not, huh? I mean,
yeah, it is rough. It is rough out there, man.
But I believe in the 5 issues, because everybody comes out with a 0 issue or a half issue now. True. I remember when those things were only limited for Wizards magazines, but now Marvel does halves. Everybody does a half.
All right, cool. Mr. Shaun, how do you feel about it?
For me, a story needs a beginning, middle, and end. So that can be 4, 6, 8, 50 issues. I think it just depends on the actual story. The thing that frustrates me, especially about mainstream comics, is when you do what you call a story arc or that, and then they just totally disregard that story arc and start something again, because the whole thing about a character is you're seeing that character develop, you're seeing that character age, and you're seeing that character's experiences change his outlook on things. And Spider-Man: A Brand New Day was one of my favorite storylines and everything, and for that to end and they're just like, oh yeah, and that just didn't happen and we're all going back to the way it was beforehand. I'm like, well, what was the point? There was actually no point of that storyline whatsoever. It doesn't affect how Peter is or anything like that. So that's where I get really frustrated with mainstream comics, and that's what I like about the indie scene is a lot of the times you do get a completed story, whether that's that 4 or 6 issue. And going back to the first question where we talked about what's really good at the moment is that platforms like Kickstarter has allowed people to complete their actual series where, 10 years ago, everyone had a number 1 comic, half of the people had number 2, and then only 5% had a number 3. Type of thing. The longer the issues went, the less people were able to create. So I think that's another great thing that crowdfunding has done is allowed people to actually, craft a story over that 3, 4, 5, 6 issues, and actually finish and complete it. So, but I was super naive. I got 50 issues for my XCT series, and I'm just like, want to put a gun to my head now and go, what the hell was I thinking? So I've got that all mapped out, and we're 6 years into the series so far, and almost about halfway. So another 6 years to go, I guess. But all my other series are between 4 to 8, 8 now, because that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Can I just jump in really quick and mention? I think that another one of the reasons why manga is so much more popular than American comics right now is because they are telling complete stories. And if you go to the bookstore, if you go to like a Barnes & Noble, for instance, the graphic novel section, the American comics, is just a mess. And then you go to the manga section and everything is laid out. Here's volume 1, here's volume 2, entire series. And people know that they're going to get a definitive end to that story. I think that's one of the reasons why manga's, doing so exceptionally well right now.
Well, it makes it hard for the average person. You go into a comic book store. My wife goes into the one here and is like, my husband likes comics. She's not into comics. And she's like, where do I start? And they're like, where this one's got 3 issues out, but the graphic novel isn't out of that yet. So, don't get that. And it's like, it gets really confusing where you're right with manga. And I guess that's why we've, kind of now gone away from those single issues and started doing just graphic novels, is that we can do volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4, and make it super easy for people to kind of jump in and go, okay, I need to get 1, 2, and 3, or we can say, okay, that's 1 story arc, so you can actually jump in on 3, and if you want, you can go back and get 1 and 2, so on and so forth.
This is true. Hold on. Evan, you're up next, but hold on. Let me just flash these up real quick. Golden Tree says, hey, y'all.
Hey, Golden Tree.
J-Rod says, what's up? How you doing, J-Rod?
Hey, J-Rod.
And Pops says, what's up? What's up, Pops?
Hey, Pops.
All right. So, Evan, you're up. How do you feel about it?
I think less is more. I mean, I think the biggest challenge as a comic book writer is to tell an entertaining, concise story in the least amount of space possible. So it's hard enough to tell a story in 22 or 24 pages, but I've fallen in love with these shorts, these 12 pagers, making every panel count, making every word count. And also, I mean, as an indie creator, I'm going to have 3 shorts published in different anthologies. That's great. That's a great resume booster, and also, great for a table. Have more to display, more work to show off. As a consumer, like everybody else, we're all short on time. I love the one shot, something I can just pick up and read a quick 24 pages and be done with and get on with my day.
All right, cool. What do we got here? Pops says, great lineup, JD. Thank you, Pops. Thank you, everybody. And hey, everyone. You're for being creators. All right, there you go. That's from Michael Williams. Okay. And J-Rod says, I agree. At my store, comics barely move aside from the trade paperbacks. There you go.
Because people are confused. And then it's like if you go into a store and you ask for issue number 1 of a Marvel comic, there's going to be, which number 1? What? There's because every 6 months they're rebooting and going back to issue number 1.
Well, I read the Star Wars comics, and literally War of the Bounty Hunters is across 4 titles with 5 single issues with a mini series. And like, now, if I wasn't a Star Wars, as you can see, Star Wars super fan, like that would just be impossible for someone to come off the street and go, oh, I'm going to pick this up. And then they're like, oh, well, where does this story fit in the whole universe? So that's why, for me, and going back to Star Wars, I loved Dark Horse. They had the Star Wars Republic series, but the actual series was just a 4 to 6 arc of a single character, and then they came back to that character later in the series and told more of their story, and that's what I thought was phenomenal. That's one of my favorite. I think it's 84 issues of that is one of my favorite Star Wars runs, because it wasn't just about Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. It was about all these different characters and then how they intertwined across the series.
There you go. Pop says only number ones I care about now are Indie Comics. I want that SGG number 1, Brian. There you go.
You don't have that, Pops? I'll rectify that situation. Don't worry about it, brother.
There you go. Mark, how do you feel about it?
I think the story should last as long as the story needs to last. You can, and it also needs to have an ending, because that's the problem when you have 500 issues of Thor or 500 issues of whatever, because there's no ending, and they have to constantly reinvent themselves to be relevant. And as LK said, she loves Batman. My question is, which Batman? Because there's like 30 different Batmans if you go through all the years, where they can just have a similar character, name him Batman number 2, and keep it moving.
The Phantom. The Phantom does that great.
Yes, exactly.
Regenerates the character to be able to tell the story. I think that is a far more powerful. And then especially on the next Phantom, because it's like, well, some get thrust in when they're not ready, and some
I'm a big Phantom fan as well. But the thing with a character like Batman, like Frank Miller said, he's so simple that character can be reinterpreted over and over again. I always preferred Detective Comics. I happen to think that Batman as a character that works much better in done-in-one stories. But of course, that's my own opinion. Other people might disagree, but I do think that there are certain characters that do need to be reinterpreted for new generations. Dennis O'Neil said that people like him are the custodians of folklore. And I think one of the reasons why American comics are suffering the way they are right now is they're not in the hands of responsible custodians.
Oh, I also want to piggyback on something that Shaun said. I had an interview with Walt Simonson one time, and I had asked him about his Fantastic Four run, because he did a whole great run, and then at the end of his run, they just like, nah, that stuff didn't happen. And I said, hey, doesn't that bother you that they just like negated what you did? And he was like, I look at it as if it's a little sandbox. You come in, you do your sandbox, and the next guy comes in, he does whatever the hell he wants. And also, the Stephen King once said that it doesn't change your story. So even if someone comes along and changes it, your story still exists. You can still enjoy it as is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop me collecting Spider-Man, though.
Well, then there's this term that we hear nowadays, headcanon. Right?
Yes.
People can kind of like pick and choose what they want to be in that storyline or that character's history.
Which actually brings us back to John Byrne making his own headcanon, and you can just accept it. All right, that's how it is. Yeah. And forget screw Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. For myself, it depends. But I miss Vertigo. Right? Remember we had 150
Zoe Quinn.
Yeah. 150, but 150 issues of Fables, 75 issues of Sandman. I think it was 70 issues of Transmetropolitan, 60 issues of Preacher. Stuff like that. We don't see that as much anymore. Cullen Bunn had a good run with the Sixth Gun.
Yeah.
Mike Mignola. As much as I like Hellboy, I like BPRD better.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And I have them all in the omnibus books, and it takes up, it's like 3 feet on my bookshelf. I have them all, and it's huge, and I love it. And with Tall Tales, I got 20 issues. I got an omnibus that's 20 issues thick. I got the Oswald Chronicles. Like I said, I'm 1,400 pages into that. I got probably another 1,400 pages before I finish it. It is what it is. In that particular case with the Oswald, I just tell you, I'm crazy. Don't do what I did. Don't do it.
Well, that's the thing. It depends on the story. If you have that much story in you, if you have that much story to tell, then tell it. We had a tragic loss this year with Kentaro Miura passing away. before he could finish Berserk. I'm a huge Berserk fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's his life work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if somebody feels that that they just want to focus on that one thing, I think that's fine.
No,
You know,
of course.
people aren't forced to read it.
Mm-hmm. What is it? Detective Batman procedures were always very focused stories and gave a lot of spotlight to gadgetry, and now is a series of events versus sporadic foreshadowing of an emotionally flawed Batman. Yeah. There was it's funny, Doug, I think it's Mensch.
Mensch.
Moench.
Yeah.
Right. He did a series with and I'm blanking on the artist, but this series it all the issues were one shots. They were all one issues, and it had the same beat all over. Every issue had the same beat. Criminal escapes from Arkham. Batman beats him up. They end up back in Arkham. It was always the same thing. It impressed the hell out of me the way he could hit those beats every time. Boom, 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 boom. It was just like him beating on a drum. It was impressive as all hell. It has a sameness to it, but he did, it's changed. Every issue is different, but it had those beats were always the same. It impressed the hell out of me. So yeah, but that has nothing to do with anything. Sorry. I don't know. It comes in with just doing a single issue. Just doing a single issue story, which are difficult.
Well, I mean, like I was mentioning Dracula and Frankenstein before. Why do we as humans feel the need to be told these same stories over and over and over again? But we just have this need for certain stories to just hear them over and over again, and hopefully told in a new and fresh and in an entertaining way.
Right.
But still the same story.
Here's one for you. I ordered the Preston cover of the current issues. Someday I'll have them all. There you go.
Thanks, Pops.
Well, I'm curious, if we didn't know Batman, do you think that those single issues could have been done without people already, I mean, most people have heard of Batman, know the basic story, even if they haven't read Batman.
Right. I think people would be entertained by the single stories. There was a series on TV. I don't know if everybody remembers it. Monsters. Remember that TV show? Yes. All right. Now, Monsters had the same type of formula. First section, you have the introduction of the monster or the simple setup. Second section, monster introduction, boom. And then the third section, the monster gets killed. And it was always the same thing. These beats, there was opening, commercial, middle, commercial, ending, commercial. And these guys hit that beat like just like hammers. I don't personally write like that, but it impresses the hell out of me when people do. Just over and over again, just being able to hit those beats.
Law and Order was just like that.
Yeah, exactly. Law and Order. That's perfect example of that sort of thing. It's incredible. But I think by structuring it that way, sometimes, because originally that's how I had the Oswald Chronicles, but I was writing it in prose. And what it was I could write one short story, and that short story was itself encapsulated. So you could just you only needed to read the one story. You didn't have to read everything else, right? It got more crazy as I took those prose and I put them into comic book form, because then that one issue becomes 4 issues or it becomes 6 issues. So then it's like, okay, it's no longer that thing that I originally had, but I can eventually put it in a trade and sell it like that. So yeah, that's all crazy. But
George R. Martin's Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire, that was supposed to be a trilogy originally.
Right. Exactly. Now, could you imagine those books as comic books? Like,
they've been interpreted. They've been adapted into comic book form, haven't they?
I know. Yeah. I haven't paid attention, but how many pages does it take if you're going to do a truly one-for-one adaptation of that novel? How many pages is that novel going to take to turn into?
Impossible!
5 years.
Each novel's like 1,000 pages.
5 years.
Right.
Yeah, there it is.
But that's what it is. You're talking about what, 1,200 pages, something crazy like that. It's just nuts. All right, so enough about me. Let's go talk about the campaigns. And hold on, let me pull this up, because somebody said, hold on, let me just get this. Lewis, you can start talking, because it's going to take me a moment.
Why I got to be the one to talk though?
Yeah, you put him on the spot. Why don't you?
No, because I'm pulling up your page.
I have a question though.
Go ahead.
Do y'all write when y'all write? do you have in mind that's going to read it? Is it people 20 and older, 20 and younger? Who do you imagine, is going to read your stories?
Me?
And do you involve curses? Like, I feel uncomfortable putting a curse in anything I write.
Mm-hmm.
I think profanity is something that is used for punctuation, for emphasis. I know that when people overuse it, I've seen amateur writers or beginning writers make this mistake frequently. I use some off-color language in my work, but it's always used judiciously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the only writer I've seen in comics that uses it quite a bit would probably be Garth Ennis, but it also depends on what he's working on.
Yeah.
Something like The Boys, you get a lot of that. But he has some other stuff where he does wartime comics. You don't see as much of that. It's a little bit
if you're
more.
doing a comic that's set in a prison, for instance.
Right.
Right? Every other word is going to be MF for this, MF for that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, we've got a series called Fractured Shards, and it's a cyberpunk dystopian detective series, and that character is quite rough around the edges and everything. So he's Italian. So what we've done is, yes, he swears, and there's a bit of swearing in it, but he also swears in Italian. So that younger kids under the age of 18 can read it and not understand. No, but we've got that it's an over 18 book and everything. Like, it's got nudity and everything, but it suits that story. Where when I did XCT, that first one, I did have a little bit of swearing in it, but then realized that the art style really lent itself more to a younger audience. So I actually went back and relet it and removed all of that. So on that series, we're really mindful on the language we use, and if we do use profanity, we use the little not the actual word, but the F
ampersand and the
type of thing. So I think I don't think a character needs to just swear for swearing's sake. If it needs to be there for a reason or a character development or that type of thing, or he's just that type of character rather than just saying it for no kind of reason. So yeah,
I remember I was reading a Batman comic and he said damn. I was like, oh, he's serious.
As for the audience, the audience that I think of is just myself. I write to entertain myself. I write the comics that I want to read. Now that sounds very solipsistic, right? It sounds like kind of masturbatory in a way. But I think that if you're not passionate about your story, other people aren't going to be passionate about it.
Oh no, I agree with you that when you write a story, you have to write something you would enjoy seeing or reading yourself.
Right.
The topic. So no, that I understand. I just wanted to know.
Gotcha.
Like, who do you envision reading your stories? Who do you imagine? Is it kids? Is it? Because I remember comic books was basically for kids. Now it's you got.
Well, I don't know that that's entirely true, because when I was growing up, comic books were for college age white males, like basically between the ages of 18 and 21. And I think that that's the reason why I had a college level vocabulary in sixth grade. It wasn't because I was especially bright. It's because when I sat down to read a comic, I would see these words that I didn't understand, and I needed to know exactly what Doctor Strange was saying, what Reed Richards was saying, what Doctor Doom was saying. And so when I would read the comics, I would have a dictionary right there, right next to me.
We must have been reading two different comics, because all I got is Kapow, Peng.
Well, there were comics that were, I think one of the biggest mistakes in the American comic book industry was they stopped making comics for kids and they stopped making comics for girls. And that's another case where you see manga jumping in and finding an audience where basically American comic book industry was just like basically told 55% of the human race to go after themselves.
Yeah.
There was an article about comics having a higher vocabulary level than like most other written media. That came out some time ago. So just to reinforce what you're saying about like the learning the bigger words and whatnot younger on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've started to do talks at schools and everything. So my whole story is that I struggled to read as a kid. So the reason I got into comics was my mum actually bought me my first comic because she couldn't get me to read books, and it was a Spider-Man comic, and that's what got me into comics. And now, I've really tried to be that voice for comics and graphic novels in the school medium and the libraries and those areas, saying that this is a really good form of education in regards to helping people to read. There's some really great stories around morals and to do the right thing and all that type of stuff, and not to treat people that look different, and all those magical stories that you can get from books, but you can also get from graphic novels. But I think the hardest part to break down is that the majority of people that don't read comics, you say, what is comics? They're like, it's a superhero. Well, comics and graphic novels are so much more than just superheroes, and I think that barrier is slowly getting broken down now, and that's and that's why you see Extraction, the Umbrella Academy, the Old Guard, all these movies that people are like, I didn't realize that was a comic book. It's got nothing to do with superheroes. Yeah, mate, we can write other genres. We don't just have to write superheroes.
So.
Yep.
Well, or you can just point them to the grimiest superhero show there is, The Boys.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I can't get into that yet. I don't know why.
Well, it sometimes takes a minute. But Lewis,
the
man,
first scene where he's just holding his girlfand's hand, and that's all that's left of it. I'm just like,
that's horrible.
You've got me, mate.
Yeah.
That's
sold. It's so bad. But I think it comes to, but Lewis, I think it just comes down to a matter of taste. If you vibe with something, you vibe with it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. This is
I know it's been out for some time, but spoilers.
It's in the first
episode, the first 5 minutes. I'm not spoiling anything.
All right.
Buddy. Lewis, your page, Fuel of Life. Talk to us, man. Tell us about it. What's going on here?
That is it's an illustrated book, like a comic book, and it's a new take on vampires. It's what if our blood was used basically for fuel for an alien ship. We call them vampires, but they need to escape our world, and we hunted them down. And that's the main premise of it.
Cool.
Fuel of life, because what gives us life gives them fuel.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard that take before. That's fresh.
Yeah.
It's under the influence.
Nice. Now I see it's available on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, right?
Yeah,
this is a prose book?
The publisher picked it up. The Darkfire Press, JD DeSantis.
Jam.
Good friend of mine.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jam's cool people. Hold on, let me pull up your other one. You got one more. Mark, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, now you can start talking because it's gonna take.
Okay.
I'm
All right. So
terrible.
while he's trying to pull that up, I can share a story or two. Let's see. Do you all guys heard about that William Shatner went up into suborbital space? You know that one of the guys who went with him died in a plane crash?
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine what he saw and he couldn't say.
He went through all that trouble. He flipped suborbital space, and a couple weeks later, I'm on a regular plane crash, and he's gone.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, Scotty didn't beam him up then.
Terrible.
Sorry. Oops.
It's all good.
But it's like he used up all his good luck mojo to go up into suborbital space.
Well, it's like Dr. Hang S. Noor, who survived the killing fields of Cambodia and then got murdered, walking into his house in Los Angeles.
See, that's that Final Destination stuff going on right there.
Yeah, that's.
But it's your time. It's your time, man.
All right, Lewis.
believe.
I think you sent me a link for something else. So I don't know if you have another link you could send me
For
your work for your because I think I saw dog eaters on there.
dog eaters? I never worked on that. What the hell is that?
I know you didn't work on it. That's why I didn't pull it up.
What the hell is that? Dog eaters?
Sir, dude, that's the
No,
link you sent me. I don't know what
worked
this
on
is.
Different. It's a different
short
comic.
story.
Yep.
I wrote a short story where it's called Transition of Power for ASAP Comics in the UK. They asked me to submit a story for all proceeds go to dyspraxia. And my short story is basically 20 minutes, the world ended. You know, the earth is destroyed, and now the devil is waiting for Jesus to appear in the Central Park bench to transition the power from one to the other. And they go into this. I want to compare it to the way Batman and Superman talk to each other, where they kind of like snip at each other, and that's where that goes. And it's a short story, and the end, it makes you think. You know, God. You know, Jesus tells them, you know, they won't believe in you, and He says, as long as they believe in you, they will always believe in me, no matter where they are. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah. Sorry, I have this thing where good and bad and devil and God are one and the same. Sorry.
That's okay. We're all a little, you know.
Yeah, sorry. One wears horns, the other one has long hair. Look out, world.
Nice. Lewis, you got issues, but it's okay. We all do.
Yes.
All right.
By the way, speaking of issues, what do y'all think about this new Superman thing that's going around?
Which one?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, the one that's
With his son? His son? But it's his son.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's a publicity
different person.
stunt. It's a publicity stunt. That's Comics has been doing this for a long time. They were doing this with God. I think the first time I saw them do something like this was when
Death of Superman?
Yeah, Death of Superman. Before that, I think Spider-Man married Mary Jane. They even had a little ceremony in.
But
Oh yeah, that's right. They had it in
Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Why take such an iconic character?
Well,
For attention.
Yeah, well, that's one reason. The other reason is that DC is in various lawsuits with the relatives of the creators. All right. And what it is if they can change the character enough, they can bring it up in a court of law. That's why they changed Truth, Justice, and American Way. They were like, it's no longer in copyright. They can't use it. So they have to move that. They have to give them another thing. That's why they changed it. You think they changed? They have some kind of political agenda? No, they're trying to change it so they can keep it.
And that's the reason why they killed them off and they lost. DC lost that.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're still trying. So that's why, if you notice, his son doesn't wear the cape. Right. You understand? Because they're trying to change him just enough so they could go into court and be like, look, it's not the same character. We've changed him. We've done enough modifications that he's ours. And then
The
changing.
10% rule.
What?
The 10% rule.
Exactly.
Can you imagine if they did that with Batman's son? If he had a son, well, he has a son.
He has a son.
Instead of
He
him
has a
going,
son.
"I'm Batman," he goes, "I'm Batman."
Oh, come on.
Well, but once again, I think a lot of it has to do with just getting attention, right?
You want to see
That's
my
not
house?
to get anybody to buy comics. It's a publicity stunt, and it's also a something that is public relations too, right?
Mhm.
Because it's all about getting a story in the New York Times, and people reading the New York Times and going, "Oh, isn't that nice?" And then they go on with their lives. They don't run down to the comic book store to
buy the book.
buy the book.
That's why the storylines get leaked, quote unquote, leaked to the news media. Nobody leaks it. They just tell them, by the way, this is coming out before the actual books come out, so to generate the buzz and generate the public interest. I remember, and I fell for it one time when they killed Captain America.
Yeah,
I heard about it. I was like, oh, I want to go get that issue. Every comic book store sold out. I was like, oh.
Mine actually saved
Then
one
they bought him
for
back
me.
6
You were
months later.
just talking about Robin. Robin's pansexual as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Iceman
it's
gay.
not Batman's son, but
Retroactively.
I will actually say I actually know Tom Taylor. So he lives about half an hour from my house. So he's the one that is writing those books at the moment. He's a a fantastic writer and a really good guy, but he is quite political. And he's very vocal about his own beliefs. And, you know, he really doesn't apologize for putting any of that stuff into what he writes. So I can't say I'm a super fan for it, but I can kind of, I guess, see where he's coming from. But I don't know. I'm just a firm believer that there needs to be, I feel, a reason for someone to like a storyline for that. Like, you know, the one I always go back to and I like is you know, they made Bobby Drake gay, and everyone's like, oh, you know, how good if you make Iceman gay, blah blah blah. And the reason why I like that was they actually gave it a reason. Was the reason why he was a womanizer was he was trying to, you know, not kind of, you know, he was trying to like prove to himself that he wasn't. And I was like, whether you like that storyline or not, at least it was a storyline of why they were changing a character. Where, you know, a lot of the times it's just like, oh, we've done this, and you're like, yeah, but like why or how come, or that doesn't fit in with the character. At least with that one, they actually gave a storyline or a backstory of why, you know, type.
They tried.
But once again, that's not a story. I think there's an excellent example of how you do that sort of thing right. I'm a big horror guy. I had no interest in the Chucky TV series. Somebody was telling me like, hey, you should actually check that out. It's really good. And I checked it out, and it is really good. And the protagonist in that is a 14-year-old gay boy. But the fact that he's gay isn't the story. It's just another thing that makes him an outsider. It's just another thing that makes adolescence even more painful and more complicated for him. I'm like, there you go. There it is. And then it's also dealing with the sexuality of children, right? So it's a little bit like Let the Right One In, which is to say it gives you like this icky, uncomfortable feeling, but that's what horror is all about.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't watched that, so now I'm going to go check that out.
Spoilers.
I was like, oh, is that something that I want to see? But now you've got me intrigued. So
and here's the thing too. It's like I'm a total lefty, right? I've always been a strong believer in equal rights for gay people and trans people and all that stuff, right? Always have been, but there's so much virtue signaling. There's so much, and I understand now it's like that's what the comics are about. So it's like if you're going to take a canonically straight character and make them gay or or trans or something like that, it's like, well, no, create new characters. But there's just this insistence on taking these classic characters and
it's the whole IP. They got to keep the IP going.
You're right. You're very right about that. It is something that
that's what we were talking about, beginning, middle, end.
Yeah.
There's two things with that though. They got to keep the IP running. Plus, there are very few creators these days that want to give up their original IPs to these companies because they can go off and make their own IPs and then make these characters and make their own money and then hopefully sell it themselves. All right, now enough of this stuff. We're gonna move on. All right, let's bring up something way more important, and that is Fangs and Foul Play. LK, you're up. I love this.
We still see Michael's covering the artwork.
Oh, yeah.
You do?
It's a vampire kite.
Seen it on ours, yeah. This is Fangs and Foul Play. It's about a telepathic vampiric cat who just wants to eat. Meanwhile, a conflicted ex-colonel, Richard, just wants to do the right thing. What happens when he becomes enthralled to Fangs? So Richard is technically our main character, but as most people know, cat's still a show. So this is Fang, the vampiric cat. And he is not a human in a cat body. He is just a vampiric cat. Sometimes that gets a little bit confusing, and it was actually a consideration I had to make at the beginning. We were trying to figure out, all right, what is it? Is it a human body in the cat, or is he just a cat who and he's just a cat who is also a vampire.
Okay, so how did the cat get turned into a vampire?
Oh, we haven't revealed that yet. So
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and how do you feel the Project We Love has affected your campaign?
I do think it's helped. I don't have anything to compare it to,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it makes it tricky. I'm really not sure how to interpret some of Kickstarter's analytics just yet, so I'm sure I'll be trying to figure that out later. Right now, I'm just happy it's going well, and we'll try to actually see if we can understand some of that later. I have noticed that people have come from Kickstarter directly, so probably it's helping there.
All right, cool. Now,
do you have your own cat?
I do. I have 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
We had 4, but one passed last year. She was 19, so she had a good run.
Oh yeah.
Love the kitty.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And
where
we do have a black cat.
Oh,
Aw.
He's not a vampire, luckily.
Are you sure?
Well, he hasn't tried to bite me just yet, so his sister tries, but I haven't started drinking blood, so.
nice. Oh, there they
Oh,
are.
there they are.
Aw.
Oh, look at that.
Aw.
Uh,
Aw, they look like softies.
yeah.
They're actually the 2 girls are both scaredy cats, and they don't like the cuddles very much. It makes me sad, but what do you
Aw.
do?
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can get them, with treats and stuff like that, or chicken. Chicken works really well.
Yeah. Chicken, fish. So let me ask, where did you find your artist?
It was on a Facebook group. I looked
Cool.
around. I looked at DeviantArt. I looked at Behance. I looked at the Facebook groups. Twitter was not good. Not to say that there were bad artists there. I just kept getting illustrators, and I was like, do you have sequential work? And a couple did, but not very many.
Yeah.
Right.
So it just wasn't great. I think a lot of people were, they just saw like a job opening and they're like, oh, I'm going to apply. No, I'm looking for comic book artists, please.
Right.
So it was a long search, actually. Well, I don't know. It felt long to me. It could have been longer.
I mean, how long did it take you to find an artist?
Couple months.
Okay.
I was
that's not
looking
bad.
for longer than that before I actually started reaching out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's probably why it felt long. I had been compiling names for a while. So I reached out to some people directly, and then I also posted in groups to just get more.
So what was the criteria that you were looking for in an artist?
Good communication, mostly in terms of like time between communication, because my artist is not based in the U.S. and overall there hasn't been too many complications with that. So yeah, just willingness to communicate, not take 5 weeks to get back to me on something. I was looking for a particular style, and I did do 3 test artists to see who I wanted to go with ultimately. And I wouldn't even say that all of their style was exactly the same, but it was within like a certain overall style, I guess. I'm really bad at describing artistic styles, I found out.
You know what you like when you see it.
Yes,
Right.
I know what.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. I'm like, yes, this
There
is
it is.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
but it's harder to put it in words.
Yeah, say draw good doesn't really translate well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a thing of draw gooder, draw better, that sort of thing. But it looks fantastic. Okay,
Thank
it
you.
really
It
does. All right. So please, everybody, go back. Okay, because this is what, the first of 6 issues?
The first of, well, it's like 5-ish because the first one is 0 + 1, and then there's gonna be 3
Gotcha.
more.
Always gotta have a 0.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. There you go.
So
Lewis in
that's
effect.
for the first book will be, 4 plus the 0 issue.
All right, cool. All right.
And you're almost there too, right? You got
Yeah,
what,
70
9 days left?
72% or something like that.
Oh yeah, you'll make it.
Fun days
you'll
not
make
left.
Yeah.
And remember, if you can't afford to back it, you can always share and pass it around and let other people know. People
There it is.
tend to forget that.
Mm.
And we
Yes.
have a $1 tier. You don't get this put together. You got to print it and put it together yourself. But
Oh, that's
you get
cool.
the download.
Nice.
That's cute.
See
Oh, yeah,
that?
that's awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
That's really nice. All right, Mr. Brian,
Oh, hello.
how are you doing?
What up?
So
I'm okay.
So hold on, Brian. Before you start your story, I wanted to tell you this. Okay, so I have been reading. I purchased a book, hardcover, 12 issues, nice thick book. Very famous. If I mention the author's name, you'd recognize him like that.
Okay.
Bored me to tears. I mean, it was just painful reading this book. I mean, it was just painful. Okay. I was like, you know what? I finished reading it. And I was just like, okay, whatever. Put it to the side. I said, I need to read something that's going to cleanse my palate. I picked up Six Gun Gorilla, did just that. It was a lot of fun.
Oh,
You know, really, really enjoyed it. So there you go. All
thank
right.
you.
So, no, thank you. Because I really needed that.
Oh. Yeah, I've just been super lucky. People really love this book. You know, you put your stuff out there. You think that, you know, some people are going to vibe with it, other people not so much. But everybody seems to vibe with this. Everybody seems to like it, and that's not me boasting. That's me being like really grateful, because you never know how people are going to respond to your work. But I've been really blessed that way.
No, it's cool. So fill us in. Tell us about Six Gun Gorilla.
It's a revenge western with a gorilla. A very big ape with very big guns, a very big ape with very big guns, blowing very big holes in very bad people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way that I can describe it. And this is a Kickstarter campaign that I have right now. This is for the old book. This is for the original trade paperback. Covers issues 1 through 6. But I also have a campaign right now on Indiegogo for issue number 8.
I thought you were going to say issue 0.
No, no, I'm gonna do like a full 10-issue arc. That's the initial story, and sometime I would love to come back to this character, but I have a lot of other stuff I want to do. Got a sword and sorcery thing I want to do. Got a science fiction thing I want to do. Got a horror thing I want to do. You know, all kinds of stuff. But this is a story that I've been really passionate about, and it's connected with people, and like I said, I'm just really grateful for that. Critics have been super nice. The artist on this, unfortunately, Adrian Sibar, he's no longer with us. He passed away last year. Yeah, it was last year. Last year was a really rough year in a lot of respects. The artist on the book now is my good friend Preston Acevedo. He's picked up the art duties, and we are forging ahead. And after this, it's 2 more issues to go, and it's like I said, it's going well, and I'm very grateful. As for the story, you can check that out on the campaign page. Also on the Indiegogo campaign page, you can download the first issue, the entire first issue, as a PDF for free. So that way you get to, you know, kick the tires and make sure this is something that you would want on your bookshelf.
So in the images, I see he at most has 2 guns. Where are the other 4?
Are you asking, is that a joke, or are you being serious?
No, I'm serious, because it's a 6-gun gorilla. Does he mean he has 6 guns, or does each gun have a story of where it comes from? I'm curious. I honestly want to know.
I was going to grab my replica Colt Peacemaker, but then I remember no GATs on YouTube. No, it's called they're called 6 guns because they have 6 chambers. Now, mind you, in the Old West, you usually kept the one of the chambers empty, and the trigger on the hammer anyway on the empty chamber, because very often the hammer might get caught on something and drop, and you might shoot yourself in the foot. But yeah, they're called 6 gun. He's called 6 gun gorilla because he has 2 6 guns. Yeah, 6-shooter.
Okay, cool. Now, I read in the beginning of in the indicia, it says that this was originally a concept from a story that appeared in Wizard magazine in 1939.
Yes.
And there was no author credited?
No author credited. what happened was I was browsing a site. I am a pulp man to the core. I love pulp literature, especially Edgar Rice Burroughs, Lovecraft, naturally, Robert E. Howard. I'm a huge Robert E. Howard stan. I saw the title, Six Gun Gorilla. I'm like, I got to read this. And I discovered that it had been out of print since it was published, and that there were 2 copies left in existence, and they were both under lock and key in a museum in London. And so I was like, fuck. I was like, oh, damn it, man. I'm not going to be able to read that. So I hopped in my car. I was listening to the Hawk the Slayer soundtrack, of all things. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to have some comfort food because of this disappointment. I'm going to go get some fish and chips. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, I had the entire story. So the only thing that I'm taking from is the title itself.
So you've never even read the original?
No, I have, because a couple of years ago, after I had started work on this, after I had put out about 4 issues, a good soul who is a pulp scholar went to London and scanned it with a scanner and released it as a PDF online for free.
Nice.
Wow.
Now,
And it's
did it disappoint?
completely different. No, it's great. I loved it. I got a real kick out of it. It's completely different from my story, but you would expect it to be. It's written by another author or authors. Like I said, there's no author or authors credited. But yeah, no, it's fun. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
All right, cool. Michael says, a guerrilla western gunslinger, give Cowboy Spawn a run for his money. Super nice. There you go.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, so nice. So there you go. Everybody go check out Six Gun Gorilla. Like I said, I started reading. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I'm halfway through it. I'll finish it over in a couple of days. Don't worry about it. If the second half is not that good, I'll let you know.
Look, seriously, because my ego doesn't get hurt. To me, the work is the work. It's just out there. And I just want to know if it's any good, because I don't know if it's any good because it's too close to me. It's on the end of my nose. I can't see it.
Gotcha. All right, here we go. Here's Evan. You're up, sir. You're up. So this was the series you were telling us about.
Yeah. If you don't know Brian Silverbacks, he is an amazing artist from Marietta, Georgia. He's worked on covers for Image, Aftershock, Scout, and he had his character Loggerhead published by Scout. So Kara Prime is an amazing universe. At first you think superheroes, and you might think, been there, done that. But the best way to describe this is sort of X-Men meets Mad Max. So it's a weird world where you've got superheroes, mutants, modern technology, even futuristic technology mixed in with this sort of post-apocalyptic world. And it's just awesome. I was lucky enough to do a story with Stefano Carticelli, who's just an amazing artist from Italy, in a Tales from Kara Prime anthology. And Brian liked our work so much that we're going to be doing issue 3 of this series, called Sister Kate. And the first 2 issues of Kara Prime Presents are on Kickstarter now. And there's amazing value. There's one package where you get 2 main covers, 2 variants, Apex sticker, and trading cards, 10 trading cards for $40,
Nice.
Shipped to your door. So it's pretty awesome. So if you're into everything from superheroes to Mad Max, even a little bit of sci-fi, you will dig it. And it's funny, you're inspired by, the world around you. And, I'd never seen Sound of Music. So I sat down to watch The Sound of Music with my 2 girls and my wife. And obviously there's a main character who is a nun, and she's looking after these, this wealthy family's children. And I started thinking to myself, well, what if these children were murdered by these, awful demons, and this woman survives, and she's hell-bent on getting revenge. on these demons. So that's sort of the genesis of the story.
All right, cool. I'm gonna stop this screen real quick, and I'm gonna pull up. You'd shared something else for me, so I'm gonna show that one.
Cool, thank you.
But of course, it always.
So while he's looking that up,
there you go.
no problem. So here's a little tidbit. So I used to work at a movie theater, and we used to get names of movies that used to come up, and there was a movie that was called Fruitville Station, and I didn't know that it was about the actual Fruitville Station. So in my mind, I made up an entirely different movie of what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a wacky comedy about a guy selling fruit at a station. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's not even close. So that's why where the Six Gun Monkey is, like, I saw the name and that's what popped in my head.
Oh, yeah. I don't expect everybody to be an Old West scholar.
Mm-hmm. So, Evan, is that the new artist you're working with?
Yeah, so right now I'm doing quite a few projects with an artist named Stefano Carticelli. We're working Marvel style, which is the same way that I did Johnny Phantasm with Patrick Thomas Parnell. And, he's an amazing storyteller. It's awesome when you have an artist who understands, sequential art and sequential storytelling. So, I'll write some prose, give him some basics, and then he'll just, take the ball and run with it. And, he's doing, 90% of the heavy lifting. This is, all him, but, we're having a blast telling stories together. And, it's fun. There's action. This story is also pretty inspiring as well. So, look forward to having it launch most likely January next year.
Looks dope.
Thank you.
Looks nice, yeah. Sarah, hello. She says good evening, everybody. All right, cool.
Hello, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. All right, nice. All right, so let's keep this moving. Evan, you got anything else to add in there before I move on?
I probably need a whole show dedicated to everything I've been going on, but yeah, I mean, my newest stuff. I've got a cool. Speaking of cats, I've got a story called Cat Lady that's illustrated by Nick Polilko, who's a veteran of Creeps magazine, and that's in Harvest of Horrors 3, published by Caliber. And then I've got, of course, Silence coming out with art by Alex Sanchez. And speaking of all the hiccups from supply chain and printing, Silence was supposed to be released in late September. We're still waiting on it to hit shops. So, it could be a blessing in disguise, and maybe have time for more exposure for it. But I'm definitely keeping busy.
All right, cool. Well, we can do a one-on-one at some point and get it all out there.
For sure.
All right. So, like I said, Mr. Shaun, you're up, sir.
Hey guys, so the 13th Labor is set against the backdrop of an intergalactic tournament of champions. It's a story of a demigod seeking forgiveness for his past and a 16-year-old girl who, in order to save her home, must find a solace of her own. So it's a really cool mythology story. This is the first series my business Comics to Movies is publishing that I haven't been a part of the creative team myself. So it's written by David Gay and drawn by Arturo Mesa, who is just an absolute phenomenal artist. But the story is just beautiful. I'd seen this Kickstarter actually fail and reached out to David and said, man, I really enjoyed the artwork and the general presence of the story, and was like, can I publish this? So this one's for issue 1 and 2 together, where $935 off being funded with 7 days to go. So I'm getting a little bit nervous towards the end, but we're hoping to cross that by the end of the week. So yeah,
I think you'll make that.
You'll make it.
You'll make it. Yeah.
Always get nervous, no matter how many times I run a Kickstarter, I still get nervous when it runs towards the end. But the issue 1 lands on a cliffhanger that I don't want to spoil, and that what really hooked me into into this series. You know, it's got a lot of action, but there's a lot of you know, story around, you know, dealing with grief and loss and that type of stuff as well, which I think is fantastic. So you know, the digital version start as low as 10 Australian dollars, which I think is about $7 US for the first 2 issues, and we throw in another 5 or 6 comics on top of that, so it's about 250 pages for seven US dollars. Yeah, it's if you like, you know, 347 Ronin or Hercules, Spartacus, any of those type of books, then this is definitely for you.
Right,
Looks great.
Oh, it looks fantastic, man.
Is it,
Go back to that variant.
What happened?
Go back to that variant. A little higher.
so, Shaun, is it more hands-on or less hands-on being strictly the publisher?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll answer that question in 2 seconds. That variant, I absolutely love that. This is the first time in our last campaign that we actually gave backers the option of designing with the artist a variant cover. So this is actually a previous backer's idea. So it was literally like using like Santa Claus's, you know, cart, you know, type sled type of thing with Cerebus, which was really cool. But
That's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
to answer your the other question is, I've kind of on XCT is my main series, and I'm very hands on with that. But I've kind of taken a step back, and I'm more of that editor publisher these days. So we've got 5 series in the works, which is XCT, Talos of Sparta, Terra Olympus, Fractured Shards, and now the 13th Labor. We run between 5 to 6 Kickstarters a year. And then we've got more books coming out next year as well. So we've got the Occupation tie-in graphic novel with that film franchise, and we've got another project in the works that I can't talk about at the moment. So you know, it keeps me super busy. You know, I'm at that point at the moment where I'm still working and doing this, but I'm hoping over the next you know, 6 to 12 months I can kind of do this full time. So we talked about earlier that I was redoing my website, and one of the things that we're offering is that submission process to you know, kickstart people and help them kind of navigate all of the pitfalls that I seem to have found along the way. So I'm super excited to be able to offer that, and hopefully before the end of the year, if the website developers get their button to gear. But you know, super excited to be a part of that.
No, it looks fantastic. Sarah says, glad to be here. Caught my attention with horror. That is great artwork. And she's impressed. Nice.
If you're so impressed, Sarah, tell other people, and if you share it out there, let people know.
Right. So, Shaun, what was that project you were going to tell us about?
So we've got Fractured Shards launching in December.
Gotcha.
Volume 2, so that's with actor Dan Furigal. So if you're a fan of Spartacus, he played Agron of Spartacus. And then, yeah, the Occupation one, and then the other one is To Be Advised.
Gotcha. Mark, do you have one more question for the panel?
I do, actually. With the way conventions have gone to the wayside and they're trying to make a comeback, and how digital Kickstarters has kind of went beyond anybody's expectations, do you find that conventions are still necessary for the independent artist or creator?
Nice. Okay. LK, you're up.
Oh yeah, I have no idea, but I want to go, so I hope that it helps. You know, what I've heard from people is that they're better for marketing, primarily, and then converting from there. I would love that to at least be able to cover my costs. Hopefully, I think that's
Right.
that would be my goal. I'm not going to be going to San Diego Comic-Con anytime soon. I understand the tables are quite expensive.
You just have to give your firstborn child. That's all.
Yeah. Actually, you know what's funny? The tables, I mean, I haven't been there in a few years, probably about 10. When I was there, they had a small press table that was $450, right? So considering for what it is not that expensive. But what is expensive is the airfare and the hotel. Those are the killers. Those are the killers. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So if you can hit the conventions in your area, if you happen, like I'm lucky, I live in New York, so.
I could drive to San Diego, but I'd have to book a room still. I'm not doing 3 hours a day. So.
I could drive to San Diego I just have to leave today to get there this time next month in a wheelchair.
Nice. I like to see you make it through the desert.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I would have to get solar powered by then.
Serious, you explode.
In a still suit.
I've actually driven from New York to California, and driving through the desert was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had. Because you're like just driving, and you look right, it's just desert, and you look left, it's desert, and just road, just like nothing. It's so weird.
Freaky.
Yeah, there's some parts in the Bronx like that.
Why does everybody beat up on the Bronx? Poor people. All right. So what you're saying is you have nothing to do? Well, just kidding. I mean, 5 projects at the same time. Woo! All right, there you go. Yeah. I mean, like I said, everybody here has something going on. It's fantastic. I have a book coming out tomorrow, so that's tomorrow. Cool. So we'll worry about that.
Rock and roll, man. Can you give us a teaser?
No, because it's funny.
Oh, okay.
That's for next week.
Yeah, that's for next week. Yeah, no, it's for Tall Tales Volume 3. Daphne, my wife, she set it up, and it's like I have none of the information on my computer. She set it up, and I was like, yeah, just do it. But this will be our 7th campaign this year, so it's a little crazy. So we're trying to like keep it together. So. But
who's next on the question? Shaun's next?
No, Lewis. Come on.
Lewis.
How you gonna forget Lewis, bro? What's wrong
Everybody
with you?
else does.
No, that's not
JD does. No.
Oh wow. You know, this is what I get, bro. Go ahead, Lewis.
Yeah, no, I have a nickname for you, cripple hater. Go ahead.
Wow. Wow. You know, sometimes you just gotta live up to the name. And I mean, what happened to Lewis?
Oh.
Come on, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Me neither. You over.
Might get tipped over.
You forget I could also walk though.
Okay, well, no, but Lewis,
I always
man,
wanted
please.
to film a video because my mother has a wheelchair now. She thinks she's Fast and the Furious, and I want to film a video of me in front of her behind me. I drop a banana, and she spins around the top of the banana like Mario Kart. I just want to do that. Put that shit up on TikTok. Let's see how that goes. And have the theme song to the Mario Kart thing, but she's not down with it.
Oh, that's too bad.
So, Lewis, do you think conventions are necessary for the independent creator?
Yes, and the reason why I say that, like for example, Kickstarters and you promoting it online, people are reading, what you write. But when you're at a convention, people see your enthusiasm to get it out there, and they kind of go along with that. They get hyped by your hype.
Yeah.
So it's like a plus.
There it is.
It's like a big boost.
Yeah.
And then you could see their facial expressions right away, whether they're interested or not in your project. So I believe that conventions are alongside the Kickstarters, head to head.
Amen.
Cool. Sounds good. Shaun, you're up. How do you feel about it? Do you think we still need conventions?
Well, I've got a bit of a different view because I used to do between 25 and 26 conventions a year in 4 different countries. So I would be away from home the majority of the year and like every second weekend. So for me, we pivoted through COVID and started launching more Kickstarters. And
you don't have a dog.
I do have. I've got 2 dogs. Rogue
You're
and
still
Gecko.
alive? Would you traveling that much?
Aw.
Yeah. I'm crazy. I live next door to my my wife's parents, and behind us are her auntie and uncle. So we're pretty lucky in that regard. But no, I would leave my wife home. So that was not great either. So for me, I definitely think conventions have a part to play. But there is, I will never go back to doing that amount of conventions, ever again. I just think that it's not worth. I shouldn't say it's not worth the time and effort, because that's where you build your audience. It's for me at the moment, it's I don't think it's a great avenue of what am I trying to say? Use of my time. It's not the best use of my time, where I can do Kickstarters from home, can do marketing and advertising, like spend that $450 on a table and do it purely on Facebook or marketing, and get sales through Facebook ads and Instagram ads and those type of things, than having to go to a convention. But as I said, the flip side of that is I did all my hard work to build up that audience through conventions. So, I did 6 years of 20 plus conventions a year to build that audience and all that type of stuff, to now get it to a point where, I probably don't need to go to as many. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, hold on. Sarah says, no kidding. That's a lot of cons. And that's a lot of cons. And then she was like, oh my God, Louis, I'm laughing so hard. What are you doing?
You should check out his stand-up.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, he does a stand-up. He's a stand-up comedian.
Really?
He has a stand-up, and he has a on the YouTube page. You have some of your sets.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
cool.
joke
Check that
about
out.
handicapped people. I don't like them.
Oh man,
Evan, it's okay to laugh. You're not going to hell.
Yeah. It was like,
Okay.
no,
He's like, nope, not me. Nope.
Here we go again. It's okay.
in 2021, did you not get that memo?
Plus, it's got a ramp for me waiting down there.
Is it really stand up or sit down?
It depends.
Mhm.
It depends. If I get up and stand up, if I sit down and sit down, Jay. Oh, I can't wait to meet you in person.
Now, mind you, we're both in New York, right? We're both Puerto Ricans, so
Got you, man. They can come and get
This
you.
is why I like being on his
I've already
go
been
at
got.
it.
It's okay. This is how we show we appreciate each other here in
Yes.
New York.
There you go.
Later.
Exactly.
Um,
No, so Evan, I'm sorry, we just totally rolled over you. How do you feel about it? Do you still think we need we need conventions? Yes.
I mean,
Just
I
let
think
that
you'll see a thinning of the herd. I think you obviously still have your C2E2s, your New York Comic Cons, your Emerald City, your San Diego, but I think and then on the opposite spectrum, you'll have your local shows where creators go quickly, have a cheap table, meet fans, make new fans. But I think the mid-level shows, will feel a pinch. I think a lot of creators, as Shaun was saying, it may not make as much sense to, spend a weekend, maybe make money, maybe not, when you can devote that money to marketing, doing shows, what have you. The second thing is I think you'll see sort of a convergence of, short-run Kickstarters that feature, convention exclusives. For instance, you go to C2E2, and while you're tabling there, you also perhaps have some sort of crowdfunding, campaign specific to that show that'll, sort of boost, make you a little extra money, and then also for the fans that can't attend the show, gives them a little something to buy.
Oh, so you mean like offer a con exclusive through the Kickstarter?
Yep.
Oh.
you know what else I noticed? I noticed the smaller the con, like the local cons, the more attention you have to promote. This is like you're not competing against a whole big,
Yeah, you're bigger.
800 Comic-Con other publishers. You're just competing against maybe 20, 24 that are there.
Yeah.
And it's not really competing. You're just going alongside with them, but you get to promote it better there.
Yeah, more exposure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a big fish, small pond?
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And Michael says, I think COVID really gave creators the empowerment to reach direct market and audiences through social media and live stream forums like this live stream now. Cons will always be around, though. Which,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well said.
Yeah, I would definitely go with that. So, Brian, I mean, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, I think cons are always going to have their place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would recommend that a first-time creator spend a lot of money traveling to a con, because it's the plane tickets, or especially it's the hotels can really kill you in the wallet. You go hoping to break even at the very least. I know that New York Comic Con, I walked away with some money. East Coast Comic Con, I did really well. C2E2, for instance, I had to eat a loss there because, because of the train tickets and all the others, and the hotel and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I think there's a lot to what Luis was saying with people being able to sense your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion for your work. And I think that's one of the things that gives us the advantage over the majors, is that we're passionate about our work and that we're telling passionate stories. And of course, just being able to talk to people, to get your convention hustle down. These are useful skills. I don't suggest that everybody dive in at the deep end like I did and make their first campaign like New York Comic Con. But definitely, see if there are conventions in your area, and by all means, give it a shot, because it is a very useful, very educational experience at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've found that sometimes when you do smaller conventions, you can actually do better than some of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
And Sarah says, agreed 100%, Michael. Online presence is what got me back into comics after giving my entire collection away for free 20 years ago. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Ooh, there it is. Yeah, that collection. Ooh. If there was some 80s stuff in there, it might have been worse than
man.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Mr. Lewis. All right. Since
you didn't answer the question, Mr. JD Calderon.
Yeah,
I thought I just did. I said it's all right. Yes. I think conventions are still important. I think it's diminished, because I know for myself, Daphne and I would do like 20 shows a year. Sometimes it was like 2-3 shows a month, right? We would go to. Yeah, and we did that for a good 3-4 years. And then over the years, there were points we would do at least one convention a month. And then sporadically, it'd be like 2. But there was a 3 or 4 year run there where we did just crazy. We were just going all over the place. And then probably about 3 years ago, we said, all right, let's slow down a little bit. And we just started doing Kickstarters. And that's just where we're at now. We're just continuously doing Kickstarters. Now we're starting to look at smaller conventions that are in the area. And the one thing we've noticed is that there are like 1 and 2 day little shows going on. There's like little shows being held at libraries, right?
Yes.
So, you go in, sometimes you don't even have to pay a table fee. They're just, just come on in and, we'll have a table fee. And that's really cool. And you get you sell 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 books, and you just move on for the day. And then Sarah says, yeah, I cringe to think about all the comics I had. Yeah, it's probably a big collection. But all right. But Mr. Lewis, since I didn't do it before, I'll pull it up now. There we go.
Oh, this is the dog thing you were talking about?
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
No, it's Perspectives. So this was the book you were telling us about. So it's available on Amazon. Yep.
Yeah, it's the short story that my story is in there with a bunch of other people too that have some great stories in there, and it goes towards a great cause, dyspraxia. And that's the first time I was ever involved with something like that, and I was asked to participate in it, and I said, why not?
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And like I said, you can find this on Amazon. So it's really, like I said, it's for a good cause. Yeah. All right. Cool. So there it is, folks. We made it to the end one more time. Thank you all for coming and being with us. And before we go, please.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Louis.
Would DC Comics be mad if I do what John Byrne did with Superman?
As long as you're not trying to sell it.
Yeah, don't sell it.
I think I told you this before, JD. I would love to write the story where he's younger and make his ability a disability.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have all the same thing normal, but he couldn't be normal. He has to always push back. He always tries to be normal, but he can't. And I would love to write that down as a, handicap Superman in his handicap days, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's unique.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't able to fit in with society.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, dude, I would say do it.
As long as you don't sell anything.
Right. That's the only thing.
You can't sell merchandise. You can't sell anything. Just give it away for free. You're free and clear as what we've been a privy to.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Here we go.
And if DC comes after you, you could just be like, "Oh, they're just like they're coming after me because I'm handicapped."
If DC comes
use that
after me, this face, you ready? I ain't right.
Yeah. They're victimizing you.
Yeah. Are you a writer? No, not me.
There you go, like a Disney Hercules type character.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, people. Thank you so much for being here, Louis. As always, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But before we go, please, let's start with Shaun. Shaun, please let us know where they can find you and your work.
Comics the number 2 movies on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, and then the website Comics to Movies as well. So you can find me at all those places. It would be great to connect in with a bunch of yous.
All right, cool. Evan?
You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter, and you can find Time Grunts and Harvest of Horrors 2 on Amazon. And then Silence by Second Sight Publishing will be in comic book shops before the end of the year. Fantastic story with art by Alex Sanchez. And then, of course, check out CaraPrime.com for the current Cara Prime Presents Kickstarter.
All right, cool. Brian?
You can find me on the Twitter at Brian Christgau. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, all those places, and check out Six Gun Gorilla on Kickstarter and also on Indiegogo.
All right, cool. LK?
So you can find my campaign on Kickstarter, fangsandfoulplay.com will take you there. And then you can find me online at Headless Gnomes on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And my website there's no at in front of the website, headlessgnomes.com.
Gotcha. Louis, where can they find you?
You can find me riding alongside you in the expressway with my wheelchair. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all under the name Louis M. Cruz. And Amazon under the author site. Yeah, all right. I'm pretty much everywhere for a guy in a wheelchair.
And the YouTube page where you have your stand-up?
It's what is it? Louis M. Cruz Comedy Channel.
Nice.
Okay. Check that out.
I gotta check that out too. I've never been there.
People, by the way, it's okay to laugh at it. It's you're not going to hell if you laugh.
Yes. We were given the sense of humor in order to just not go insane. So take advantage of it.
Yes. Mark, where can they find you, sir?
So as we always say on our show, just Google It Came From the Radio. We're on 88.1 FM WARY every weekday night, multiple times, Monday through Friday. We are online on btd.radio.com every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, sci-fi.radio at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Indie Volt Radio at 6 p.m. on every Friday. And like I said, we are on about 40, maybe a little more by now, different podcast places. There's one new show each and every week. We have a live show that's coming up on the 8th of December. So if you go to the East Meadow Public Library website, that's www.eastmeadow.info, you can register and be part of our studio audience for our 51st live show.
Wow.
Damn.
I've been on this show. It's pretty cool.
Well, I think
No, it's an awesome show. Now, let me pop up a couple of these real quick. Glad I showed up even though I was late. At Comics with Parks, connect you to Sarah, and everyone else. All right. For sure, the name I use my actual name. We can't. Facebook. Oh, my name. All right, there you go. So, and then one last thing, I'm going to put it in the chat again, is Nita and Meredith, the Raging Ladies. They're doing a fundraiser for Luke Stone and his family. He just recently got out of hospital. He was in a coma for 45 days. It was crazy, but he's getting better. But you know, he needs as much help as he can. A bunch of us have donated items, and you know they're over there for sale. So please go check them out. Go check out the items. The Oswald Chronicles there, a bunch of other stuff. So go check that out. And thank you everybody for showing up. I can be found on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all under JD Calderon and DeviantArt. So thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome. And check out the show notes. I have everyone's links to their campaigns in the show notes. So go check them out. All right. Everybody, all you guys are making great books. Everybody's going to fund. I think it's going to be awesome. So thank you so much for all being here. I'll be talking to you soon. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Peace and love.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.